Nigeria's next presidential election already has a date, but the real battle is not about candidates yet. It's about whether electronic transmission will finally deliver trust or reopen old political wounds. When the Independent National Electoral Commission announced February 20, 2027 as the date for the next presidential and National Assembly elections, many Nigerians focused on the calendar. But beneath that announcement sits a bigger question. Can electronic transmission of results restore faith in the system, or will it become another source of political tension? For voters across Nigeria and observers worldwide, election technology is no longer just a technical detail. It's the difference between belief and doubt. After the controversies surrounding previous elections, especially debates over whether results were transmitted in real time, citizens are watching closely. Supporters say technology is the future. Critics argue that promises without transparency only deepen mistrust. This matters not only for Nigeria, but also for Africa's democratic image globally. Investors, regional partners, and Nigerians in the diaspora want stability, and credible elections remain the backbone of that stability. The announcement of the 2027 election date did more than set a schedule. It triggered a wave of political reactions. Political analysts, civil society groups, and everyday voters began dissecting one phrase repeatedly mentioned in conversations: electronic transmission. For years, electronic transmission of results has been presented as a solution to allegations of manipulation during manual collation. In theory, transmitting results directly from polling units to a central server reduces human interference and speeds up transparency. But in practice, the debate is far from settled. Supporters of the system argue that Nigeria cannot continue relying solely on manual processes in a digital era. They point to countries that have integrated technology into elections and claim Nigeria must evolve or risk falling behind. Among young voters, especially those active on social media, electronic transmission is seen as a symbol of modernization, a promise that their votes will count without interference. But critics remain loud. Some opposition figures and skeptical citizens believe that technology without accountability can create new loopholes instead of closing old ones. They question whether infrastructure challenges, including network reliability in rural areas, could be used as excuses when results are delayed or disputed. Others argue that trust in institutions matters more than gadgets or servers. This divide reflects a deeper national conversation. Nigeria's political environment has long been shaped by suspicion of political elites, suspicion of institutions, and sometimes even suspicion of fellow voters. Electronic transmission has become a lightning rod for those fears and hopes. Many Nigerians remember the intense debate after previous elections, when expectations of seamless electronic result transmission clashed with technical realities. Some voters felt betrayed when promised systems did not operate exactly as imagined. That lingering disappointment still shapes public reaction today. Supporters of INEC say the commission deserves credit for setting the election date early. Early planning, they argue, gives stakeholders time to test systems, educate voters, and avoid last-minute chaos. They praise the move as a sign of institutional maturity, suggesting that Nigeria's democracy is learning from past experiences. However, critics say setting a date is the easy part. Delivering transparent processes is where credibility is truly tested. They want clear explanations. How will electronic transmission work? What happens if systems fail? Who verifies the data? Without detailed answers, skepticism remains. From the perspective of ordinary Nigerians, the debate often sounds less technical and more emotional. Some citizens express hope that technology will finally reduce tension during election season. Others fear that political actors might weaponize technical glitches to discredit outcomes they dislike. Beyond Nigeria, international observers are also watching. Nigeria's elections carry regional significance because of the country's population size and economic influence. If electronic transmission works smoothly, it could set a benchmark for West Africa. If it fails or becomes controversial, it may reinforce doubts about digital election reforms across the continent. Political parties themselves appear divided. Those confident in their grassroots structures often emphasize manual verification alongside electronic transmission, arguing that physical records remain essential. Meanwhile, tech-forward campaign strategists believe digital reporting can energize younger voters who crave transparency and speed. Yet, amid all the arguments, one reality remains clear: trust is fragile. Technology alone cannot repair years of political mistrust. Citizens want systems that work not just in theory, but in the messy reality of election day. At this point in the conversation, let's pause for a moment. If you value balanced political storytelling that calls out failures and recognizes progress, make sure you subscribe to FactFrame Politics. This channel exists to break down complex political issues in plain language, and your support keeps these conversations alive. Returning to the story, the challenge facing INEC goes beyond technical preparation. Communication is key. Many Nigerians say they don't fully understand how electronic transmission works. Without clear public education, misinformation spreads quickly, especially online. Rumors, edited clips, and partisan narratives can shape public perception faster than official explanations. Supporters of electronic transmission argue that transparency tools, such as public results portals, can empower citizens to verify outcomes independently. They believe that when voters can see results directly, the space for manipulation shrinks. Critics counter that transparency must include independent audits and clear legal frameworks. Otherwise, technology becomes just another political slogan. Interestingly, the conversation also reflects generational differences. Younger Nigerians often embrace digital solutions, seeing them as natural extensions of everyday life. Older voters, especially in areas with limited connectivity, sometimes prefer systems they can physically observe. Bridging this gap will require more than policy statements. It will require inclusive planning. Globally, the move towards digital election systems has been uneven. Some countries celebrate efficiency gains, while others have faced backlash over security concerns. Nigeria's experience will likely influence how similar nations approach election reforms in the future. One thing is certain: expectations are high. Nigerians want elections that are peaceful, credible, and reflective of their collective voice. Electronic transmission has become a symbol of those expectations, a promise that the system can evolve. But promises alone cannot sustain democracy. Accountability, transparency, and consistency must follow. Political leaders who support reforms must also accept scrutiny when things go wrong. Likewise, critics must engage constructively rather than dismissing reforms outright. In conversations across Nigeria, from urban centers to rural communities, the question keeps coming back: will 2027 mark a turning point or another chapter in a long history of election disputes? As the countdown continues, Nigerians will watch not just what INEC says, but what it does. Testing of systems, collaboration with stakeholders, and honest communication will determine whether electronic transmission becomes a source of unity or division. And as always, FactFrame Politics will continue to track every development, separating facts from noise and giving you the full picture without political bias.